What you're really hiding about money. It's a quiet kind of question, one that doesn't usually start with an actual conversation, but with, well, a performance. And it's a performance that I think a lot of us know all too well. We can call it the performance of fine. It's this incredibly subtle act, one you can almost see in the way we talk, or maybe more accurately, in the way we avoid talking about our finances. There's a certain way people say, I'm fine, especially when it's about money. Not loud, not defensive, just quick. It's almost a reflex, isn't it? Like a polite little wall that just shoots up in an instant. Like they don't want the conversation to stay there too long. The hope is that if you just say it fast enough, everyone will just move on, to something safer, something a little easier. Daniel always said he was fine. When his friends planned expensive dinners, he said, yeah, I'll come. He was a master at this. Absolutely no hesitation in his voice, just this simple agreement that hid a much more complicated reality. When his sister asked how work was going, he shrugged and said, it's good, steady. And this performance, it wasn't just for friends. It extended to his family too. Just two simple words, But they were designed to project this image of stability, to keep any kind of worry away. When his banking app showed a lower number than last month, he just closed it. He didn't panic, he didn't complain, he just carried it, quietly. Even when he was completely alone, this was his response. Just close the app and carry it. It was this burden that he decided he had to shoulder all by himself. But that kind of silence, carrying that all on your own, it has its own gravity. Doesn't it? It comes with a cost. A heavy one. The weight of silence. It wasn't that Daniel didn't feel stressed. He did, but the stress never came out as words. It showed up in small ways. Oh, he absolutely felt it. But since it never came out in conversation, it had to go somewhere. It started to kind of leak out through the cracks in that wall he'd built so carefully. Saying yes when he wanted to say no, avoiding his bank balance for days, feeling irritated when someone joked about being broke, getting quiet when friends talked about investments or promotions. Maybe some of these feel a little familiar. They're like these little symptoms of a much bigger, unspoken anxiety. He told himself it wasn't a big deal. I'll figure it out. Everyone's dealing with something. It's not worth talking about. And all the while, this was the tape just playing on a loop in his head. This constant stream of rationalizations, trying to convince himself that the silence was okay. The strange thing about suppressed financial stress is that it doesn't disappear. It changes form. But that's the thing about this kind of pressure, isn't it? It doesn't just go away. It has to go somewhere. It just changes its shape. It becomes tension in your shoulders. It becomes guilt every time you spend money. It becomes shame when you compare yourself to someone doing better. So it starts showing up physically, that ache you can't quite explain. Or it turns into that knot of guilt in your stomach every time you buy something. And then there's the shame, that feeling that just kind of eats away at you. But because you never say it out loud, you start believing something else. That you're irresponsible, that you're behind, that you're just not good enough. And this is where it gets really dangerous. Because when it stays silent, the story you tell yourself, it starts to twist. It stops being about money and it starts being about you. It becomes a story about how you're the problem. But stories like this, they can't stay in the dark forever. Eventually, something just has to give. And for Daniel, there was a crack in the silence. One evening, while sitting in his car before going inside, his phone buzzed with another payment notification. He stared at the screen longer than usual. For him, it happened in this really quiet, everyday moment, but this time, it was different. He didn't just swipe it away. He let himself look at it. He let himself feel it. For a moment, he almost ignored it. Instead, he opened his notes app, and he typed something simple. That old habit, that muscle memory, it was right there, telling him to just ignore it, push it down. But he didn't. He did something new, something small. He just opened his notes app and typed, I'm more stressed about money than I admit. That was it. Just those words, a simple admission to an audience of one, himself. No dramatic confession, no breakdown, just one honest sentence. And something shifted. The silence cracked. It wasn't some big, dramatic scene. It was just this one true sentence. But in that quiet moment in his car, You could almost feel it. Something fundamental changed. That's when the silence finally cracked. His situation didn't magically improve. But when the silence cracked, the weight felt slightly lighter. And look, the numbers on his bank statement, they didn't change. But that weight he'd been carrying, it felt just a little bit lighter. The simple act of acknowledging it had real power. And that's where his story kind of opens up into something bigger, something universal, really. It points us toward what we could call the quiet truth. Because most financial stress isn't only about numbers. It's about identity. It's about feeling like you should have it together by now. Because that's really it, isn't it? It's not just about the math. It's about who we think we're supposed to be. It's about that voice that says, you should have this all figured out by now. So you say you're fine. You keep performing stability. You carry it alone. And because of that voice, you keep up the performance. You hope that if you act stable for long enough, maybe you'll start to feel it. And the whole time, you're carrying it all by yourself. But here's the quiet truth. Suppressing financial anxiety doesn't protect you, it isolates you. Money stress grows in silence. It softens in honesty. What Daniel found in that quiet moment in his car is that trying to push it down, it doesn't actually protect you, it just isolates you. That stress just gets bigger and heavier in the silence. But it starts to soften a little bit with honesty. Because admitting I'm not okay with this isn't weakness, it's awareness. And sometimes awareness is the first step toward real stability. Because admitting I'm not okay with this, well, that isn't weakness, it's the opposite. It's awareness. And sometimes that awareness, that's the very first step toward real stability.